morning. I hope you can hear me. The first thing I want to say is to make an apology. I came here from Tanzania in February, but I didn't fly direct from Dar es Salaam. When I left Tarime, I went to Cape Town to attend a mining conference. And when I got back to Dar es Salaam, I got very busy. But I had a plan which I didn't manage to put into action. And the plan was to get an extra suitcase or a piece of luggage, and take the warm weather from Tanzania and bring it to Canada. And I couldn't get that point, so you can blame me for the terrible weather you have been having. But I promise you that if my good brother Canon Kim invites me again, about June or July, I will be back here, and things will be very, very good indeed. But thank you for having me here. And I know I have to do a two-part talk here this morning again to gather around the text, John chapter 4, that's been read to us. And then I will be closing my sermon here, but like I do most of the time when I come here, I feel like I have to give you a report of what I'm up to in Tarime, because you are praying for me, so you always need to hear what's going on over there. But before I do that, I really have to say at the very beginning, lest I forget, this church, St. Paul's, opened up Canada for me. Jeff was attending a meeting, it was a conference of clergy, and then he talked to Canon Kim, and they then decided to invite me to come here. That was 2007. And I can say to you, my brother Kim, because 2009 you were in Tarime. I was not bishop that time, but I was in Tarime with you, traveling there. So you were the first Canadian to travel that far and come to Tarime where I live. And since then, and St. Paul's here have opened up Canada for me. There are so many people who have come to Tanzania. There is a group of students and the principal coming in June, and then the Diocese of Algoma. Those are large groups of people. But I pay tribute to you for having opened up Canada for me. And this is typical of what Jesus is saying to the woman of Samaria, that when we are connected with Jesus, we're not only blessed, but we also become blessings to other people. So I want to thank you so much, Canon Kim, for what you've been and for this church as well. The woman of Samaria, this is a story. It's a lot of theology here, a lot of politics, a lot of social issues to go through this morning, and I hope we'll probably manage to do that in the few minutes that we have before us. There's a huge contrast between Jesus and the woman of Samaria. But the woman of Samaria is a very well-informed person. She's very conversant with the social, political, religious issues that divided the Jews from Judah or from Judea and the Samaritans. She's very aware of the religious barriers. And the first thing that she asks Jesus when Jesus is asking for her to give her water, how is it that you're a Jew? And of course, not only that, you are male and I'm a woman. That's another barrier, gender barrier between that woman and Jesus. And of course, you'll be aware, by the 1st century AD, the Jews from Judea had regarded the Samaritans as second-class Israelites. When the two kingdoms were divided, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. So those northerners were regarded as second class, even worse than Gentiles. So this woman is aware of that. But Jesus is having none of it. He stands his ground. Not religion, I'm interested in your life, not religion. And Jesus makes the discussion more relevant. He talks about the immediate need that she had, which was water. That's why in the heat of the sun, midday, she's able to go to that place to fetch water. Very common in my part of the world, Tanzania and Africa. A lot of water is fetched from the well outside, not from the tap in the house. But again, what Jesus is going to offer is not the kind of the water that she's after. Jesus is going to offer the living water. The ordinary water, if she has that, she will be thirsty. She will come time and again to fetch the water. But Jesus is offering the living water. The water that will keep running, and the words of the New Revised Standard Version, gushing up to eternal life. Now the woman now understands what is lacking in her life. She's ready for the water that Jesus is going to offer. And so she says in verse 15, "Sir, give me this water." But there's something to fix in her life. And that's where Jesus is going. That which made her live in isolation, going to the well at midday. And you can imagine Palestine, very hot, even now. So she's isolated. And Jesus puts a condition to that. "Call your husband." And she was very honest. "I have no one." And Jesus commended her for that honesty. And she knows the secret is out. This man knows me. And again, she resorts back to religion, religious discussion. "Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, Mount Gerizim. But you Jews want us to come down to Jerusalem." Remember, during Easter, the Passover of their day, all the people had to come from the north to Jerusalem. In fact, the Jews there who regarded themselves as the first-class Israelites, they would even ask those people from Samaria and from northern part of Israel, Galilee, for example, when they came to offer their sacrifices, they had to come with money and buy the animals from Jerusalem. So you make Jerusalem become so big, but we have a mountain here too. Jesus would have none of it. The issue is not religion, not which mountain. The point is your life. The point is you. The point is your spirit. And so Jesus says, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit. And again, the woman resorts to now the political realities. Well, the Jews were expecting a Messiah, not a spiritual Messiah, a political Messiah, someone who could come and take them out of the bondage that they were suffering, the bondage of the Romans. So she says, "I know the Messiah is coming." And she was quite well informed. She knew that. And Jesus now breaks the news. "I am he. The person you're waiting for sometime later, that is me." And at that point, everything is finished. The woman of Samaria now leaves the jar, goes back to the city to tell people not about religion, not about politics, not about social issues, but about herself. "Come and see the man who told me everything I have ever done." What an encounter. She does not talk about the theological, religious debate that she had. She talks about her life. Why she did that? Because she was now free. She had been liberated. She was now a confident person, confident. She had been saved from sin. And that echoes John chapter 8, verse 34. "If the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed." So Jesus saves this woman, brings her back to life, makes her a whole person. Isolation had ended. The fear had ended. All this camouflage of theological, religious debates have gone. And what happens next? This woman brings people to Jesus. "Come and see." And those people come and believe. And later on, she opened up the whole world for these other people. The floodgates. Those people who did not know Jesus now came to believe because of the testimony of this lady. But the people say it's no longer Because of what you said, because of what we've heard Jesus say. And this is what happens. So my brothers and sisters, if you ever wanted a passage in the Bible that will teach you about doing one-on-one evangelism, this is it. How to witness to God's mighty works. So many people would dismiss Christianity, they would dismiss God and Jesus. They will hide behind religious arguments, social arguments, racial arguments, all the barriers that you can find. Jesus is having none of it. Jesus is interested in our lives. And all of us have something to fix. If you wanted to learn from the persistence of engaging with someone in a respectful but loving way, yet with firmness on the essentials of the truth, this is the passage for you. So I want to suggest to you this morning that engaging with Jesus is not about theological, religious, abstract issues. It's about our lives and the lives of others. This is why I'm in Tarime. This is why I'm bishop there. I was at Trinity Streetsville, Mississauga last week, preaching in John chapter 11. And I was saying to them, my brothers and sisters, if anyone was to say Christianity is like a political party or religious party that we belong to loosely just by coming, maybe turning up, that's not the case. So much is at stake, our own lives and the lives of people outside there. And on that note, I want to say, each time I come here, I feel I have to give you a report about what God is doing in Tarime, how God is opening up lives of people, how God is meeting with people, taking them out of darkness, bringing them to the light, to the life that is Jesus himself. So I want to commend this passage to you. I want to commend Jesus one more time. I want to encourage you that even though the context might be different from that which Jesus had with this woman, and yet we all know out there are so many people who are fearful of God. They are fearful of their own lives, and we need to help them in any way we can. I had the privilege when I was in Britain engaging with people in very unusual circumstances. At one point, I was invited by a builder, an engineer, who said to me, my wife is not a Christian. So when you go to my home, I know you Africans, you tend to talk a lot about Jesus and about faith. So be careful, because look, I know you probably might just slip into that mistake. And I said to the guy, I promise you, I will say nothing. Just enjoy the good lunch. And then after we finished our lunch, it's this lady who started saying to me, you Christians, you baptize a lot of things. You succeed and you say God has done it. You talk about eternal life. And I said, the guy was sitting there watching me, and I said, now you see, she's the one who started it. And now we must have a proper conversation. Now, because of my time, I won't tell you how that conversation went, because that will mean I'll be here and you're going to miss your lunch. But let me cut it short. A conversation was very nice. A year later, that same person came when I was having a meeting with people almost about to go to Tanzania. It was 1991. And she came and said to me, the way that you talked about, the way you said to me, engaging with a clergyman in a very calm, in a very loving way, that never happened to me. But the way that you spoke to me challenged me a lot over the course of this last year, and I became a Christian. And that is what God does. When we can share this word faithfully with people who sometimes are hiding behind the camouflage of sometimes modernization, technology, and poverty out there in Tanzania. So my brothers and sisters, I want to stop there and go to my second part. Giving you a report of what I'm up to in Tarime. Second one, that's just to remind you where I am. And of course, my name, is not Bishop Mwita. My name is Bishop Giraffe. Now, what am I up to, Bishop Giraffe, there in Tarime? That's what I want to share with you. So next slide. Since 2013, May, when I was here, what we've done is we've decided as a diocese to plant 30 new churches in the next 3 years, until 2016. That's what the synod of my diocese has decided. And to make that happen, I have trained 53 lay ministers or evangelists who are going to help me to do that. And I was so pleased that there were women. We got lots of women lay ministers. I got one woman who is a lay minister leading a parish on her own. But these 53 people are going to help me. They're now in the parishes everywhere, planting new churches. Next slide, please. But the other thing was, I had about 13 churches going up. And now 8 out of those 13 churches have a roof on them, and this is one of them, because of your prayers. I got 4 more left. I got 5 left, money in the bank for one, and 4 more churches. And last week someone was saying, Bishop, can you bring me this bill? God is saying to me, I want to do all the 4 churches so that you can get on with other things. Next one, next slide. That's about the church construction that's going on. We're anticipating growth. And so we're building those churches. They're about 30 meters long, which is about 100 feet plus. And these are being built by very poor congregations. One of them is there. This is going to be the largest church in Tarime. Next one. Some of the people here have gone to that one near the gold mine, Kerende. I think my brother Kim, we went there. And that one is going up. Of course, you can see on the right, the bottom right-hand corner there is an empty hall. And each time I go there, I say to the people, you don't need a roof, because if you have a roof, you won't get too many blessings. If you're worshiping in a church without a roof, then the blessings come to you so fast from heaven. The people don't believe that. They won't have any of it. Then next one is about clergy houses. We're improving housing for clergy. Now I got about 5. But these 2 are almost ready, and the clergy in those 2 parishes will be having better accommodation than what they used to have. Next slide, please. And then, here I got a motorcycle from the mission team that Kim, you brought to Tarime. And then opening up blessings for me. The Canadians are all now coming and helping with all kinds of things. And this one, I was just blessing this in January at a service. Those are 2 from Kingston. Next slide, please. And then I was talking about musical instruments. And downtown Toronto, St. Paul's, the youth group there raised $11,400 for me. And then the church said, we cannot be beaten by these young people, so we as a parish are going to put another $15,000. So I got $26,000, and I bought musical instruments. Now, of course, the children one, that's come later, but the children one, of course, is right here at St. Paul's, $1,200, and we're going to talk about that over lunch. This is a ministry that is close to my heart and is being supported by St. Paul's here. Next one is the one about the musical instruments. So we bought those, and 3 major choirs in the diocese are now having the musical instruments. And the others, of course, have them as well. So this is how I want to use young people in the diocese to help me in the evangelization process and make people, a lot of them out there, like the Woman of Samaria, to meet with Jesus. Of course, there are also men of Samaria, so to speak. And then I want them to meet with Jesus. So next one, this one now is where I'm going to end, and I have to say to you that sit back, relax, and enjoy this clip, but I'm warning you, don't try this at home, please.